All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Of course, over on Rumble. I did a walk earlier and it snowed here. And it's really good snowball snow, by the way. It's like literally perfect for packing the perfect snowball. So all the way down into the center of town and back again, I kept making snowballs when I was walking with Liz and putting them in random places. And when she walks home, probably she'll see a bunch more. Great time had by all. Several of them were destroyed by the time I was walking back. I have a feeling that the local kids had some fun with those. I'd chuck them in a car maybe or something like that. Yes, we are live on Rumble. It's not telling me how many people are watching, though. Now it is. Okay, that's much better. Oh, I should have my audio muted, by the way. Make sure our tabs are working. We've got lots to cover today. Hypocrisy, hilarity, irony. Jesus. Texas P12. What do you think of Crowder's move? I don't know anything about Crowder moving. FJ Amato, watch Manson from the 90s, Ben Stiller show. I've seen that clip many, many times. It's hilarious. Tell me Manson doesn't sound exactly like Joe Biden when he talks. It's hilarious. Yeah, even a similar like a fake twang as well. Yeah, Ben Stiller's Manson is one of the all-time great clips. I really did enjoy that. We'll start right off today because we do have major news. Of course, the major announcement from the other day, as I succinctly pointed out, you will note on the video that came out about an hour before this particular announcement, noted that while the NFT drop that Trump did the other day was cringe, and I hold to that, the rollout of this idea was botched. The actual major announcement, which has to do with free speech, is extremely on point. In fact, I could have written this, honestly. This is Donald Trump Jr.'s write-up about the video. By the way, posted on Rumble. You can follow Donald Trump there. You can also follow yours truly here. A significant number of people tuning in for that because it's exactly what we need right now, especially as we see like what's happening with Twitter, the legacy media, the sleaze bags of the Biden admin, European Parliament all weighing in, saying maybe we need sanctions on Twitter because Elon Musk is banning journalists for pre-existing fucking rules. Rules for thee, not for me. Differential enforcement is the root of all evil on big tech. Listen to some of the proposals here. And this is great stuff. Again, the rollout was botched and Trump should partner with content creators to get word out ahead of the legacy media's spin bullshit. In order to get around the brick wall of silence that they've attempted to erect around him. He should not be doing the NFT meme thing until he has already fleshed out his campaign platform. But this goes a step towards that. This is one of the planks in his platform. Restoring free speech overview. Ban federal agencies from colluding to censor American citizens. Good. Ban taxpayer dollars from being used to label speech as mis or disinformation. Good. By the way, he can do those by EO on day one. He doesn't need any legislative permission. Fire every federal bureaucrat who is engaged in domestic censorship. Some of those are legislative at-will positions, and you can't just fire them on day one. Some of them you can, though. So, yeah, that's a pretty decent. Immediately send preservation letters to Biden admin and big tech giants. Whether or not they obey them or not, of course, is a different case, but it's a good idea anyway. Order the DOJ to investigate all parties involved in online censorship regime and prosecute any and all crimes identified. The problem with this is that most of it's not crime. It's simply a breach of the spirit of the First Amendment and of the concept of free speech and free expression. The direct collusion with some bureaucrats could run afoul of the law, like what the FBI did with Meta, then Facebook, what the FBI did on Twitter. We'd have to wait and see. This is the biggest one. Revise Section 230 to drastically curtail big platforms' power to restrict lawful speech, of course, under U.S. law. This is a big one. It's exactly what should be done. We don't need to get rid of 230. We need to revise 230 to make it clear you can be a publisher and you can choose whatever the hell you want on your platform, or you can be a true platform and you don't get to pick and choose because the whole concept of 230 is to give you protection because you can't moderate everything. If you're saying that you can't moderate everything, go after illicit material and criminal material, spam, things like that, and leave people's opinions alone. Stop federal funding for all nonprofits and academic programs engaged in censorship. Good idea, although again, some of that is legislative. Suspend federal dollars to any university that has engaged in censorship support activities. That would lead to a legal battle. It's still a good idea to have it. Enact criminal penalties for federal bureaucrats who partner with private entities to violate your constitutional rights. Again, this would lead to a lengthy slew of court battles, but it is a fight that needs to be had. If we're going to have free speech and free expression, we need to do something about this now. I've been talking about this for years. Impose a 7-year cooling off period before former Intel and national security officials can work at big tech platforms. Excellent idea overall. Again, you might need legislation to accomplish that, but again, we'd have to see. And finally, and biggest of all, pass a digital Bill of Rights. This would put pressure on the Dems, by the way, because they would have to excuse to their constituents why they don't want to support the concept of free expression, which means that they, in the lead up, they would say, well, because there's hate speech online. People don't need to see hateful things. We don't want certain opinions to be aired out online. My goodness, we're going too far with this whole First Amendment crap. They would end up having to make that argument. So as far as the actual platform, excellent. As far as the rollout, there are other ways that Trump could go about getting the message out around the brick wall of silence from the legacy media. He needs to contact major content creators that are still aboard his MAGA thing, aboard the Trump train. Yours truly comes to mind, and there are people with much larger audiences than me. We can get the message out. We have a presence on platforms all around the world to the tune of hundreds of thousands, millions, even tens of millions of people. CNN and MSNBC and all these other moron whiners are vestigial at this point. They're not necessary for you to get your message out. If enough people are talking about it, they'll have to make a piece anyway, even if it'll be propagandistic spin, which they did anyway because of the NFT thing. Christian Robertson. I think it's funny how many people jump off the Trump train when he does something that's considered not a good move. Maybe it's to show us who true MAGA is and who's not. Well, I mean, they're fickle, and a lot of those people weren't on the Trump train anyway. At this point, I think that some of these accounts are literally people who are David Brock-inspired Democrats, and they're just trying to say, well, I voted for Trump twice, but this is a step too far. Trump trolling people is a step too far. Yes, clearly you were all in 2016 and in 2020, clearly. Sebastian Monroe. Vijayana God could use this moment to flee the country using the persecution of journalists excuse. Might want to do it soon before the hammer falls. Libertarian Sasquatch. All my normie friends didn't hear about his policies and just heard about the dumb NFTs. Seems like Danny is getting more bad advice again. Well, they're normies. Of course, they're not cued into what's going on. In the end, though, ultimately, the NFTs have already been forgotten. Elon Musk has covered that end. But there are still people talking about Trump's Section 230 and Digital Bill of Rights proposals. Polyfrog. Elon Musk isn't for free speech. If he was, then he'd allow horrible opinions. They are not calls to violence. Restore the net to pre-2010 speech. We'll get into that momentarily. Jocko Slapbass. The Trump announcement is basically perfect. Now, the free speech element, yes. 9 out of 10 at least on my end. Especially with 230. That's exactly what I want to hear from Trump. I want to hear the meat and bones of what you're going to do if you're elected. I need more than just the meme thing. I don't mind the sweepstakes NFTs. He cleared over $500,000 in only a couple of hours, so it wasn't really botched on the fundraising end. It's just that it's obtuse. It came off wrong. It distracted from the message that he could have put out. What he should do is very, very publicly, he should do this. Get a bunch of content creators together, cut a nice big campaign ad where people are saying, yeah, I'm on the Trump train, or I'm on the Trump train still, make America great again. And we're going to help get the news out about what Trump says because the fucking legacy media isn't doing its journalistic job. Alarian Horizon. DeSantis astroturf by fake MAGA is really cringe. Agreed, although it's not DeSantis' fault. I really genuinely don't believe he's in on the gig. Ozzy's Robots, off topic, but did you see the article claiming the spike protein can jump from vaccinated to the unvaxxed via bodily fluids? Can DM it to you. Yeah, you can DM me that. That'd be interesting. By the way, there's almost as many people watching on Rumble as on YouTube right now. Total 3,000 people. Next news story. The New York Times is whining at the moment, along with MSNBC, CNN, Vice, and all of the others. Very predictable. Twitter suspends accounts of half a dozen journalists. The social media service, which is owned by evil tyrant Elon Musk, I'm being hyperbolic, said the accounts were suspended for violating the Twitter rules, but did not provide details. But he has. They ran afoul of the doxing policy. By the way, Musk does have a poll up right now, and he'll probably make good on it, to potentially restore the accounts early, which seems to be what people are voting for. I personally do not have a problem with people posting people's real world location if it is public. So the fact that I go out in public, I see a person, I'm like, I tweet out, hey, I just saw, such and such a celebrity at the bar or something like that, or at the restaurant. That shouldn't run afoul of any TOS. It's not incitement. However, I would point out, number one, the hypocrisy of the legacy media. You have spent more than 5 years encouraging sites to engage in more and more onerous TOS. If someone were to do this to New York Times journalist, you would cry bloody murder. And you even cry bloody murder at Elon Musk himself for simply posting publicly available tweets from years ago. It's not real world information. It's not current, about Yoel Roth, saying he's trying to incite people to attack Yoel Roth. Yoel Roth had to go into hiding with his family because he's afraid of being attacked. A person was literally trying to stalk Elon Musk, accidentally stalked a car that his little son was in, and you begrudge the man to take action on a platform that's now fully private. I don't begrudge him that at all. The hypocrisy is sheer. The legacy media is constantly rambling about the need to suspend more people. What have they been doing for the last few weeks? Rambling and raving about how terrible it is that people banned for literally nothing were allowed back on the platform. You morons get a temp ban for something that technically was already against the rules before Elon Musk bought the goddamn site. Doxing was already part of the harassment policy. All of a sudden, it's a big goddamn problem to them. It's because the shoe is on the other foot. Just like with the European government saying maybe we need to sanction Twitter. Why? You encourage Twitter and other sites explicitly, despite not even being European sites, to censor users according to your whim. But when your people that spread your disinformation, and the legacy media is at this point a state-run disinformation apparatus, it no longer conducts meaningful journalism. MSNBC, CNN, the New York Times, the Atlantic, Vice, Salon, HuffPo, etc., elements of the missing link media. Hell, even some compromised assets within the creator community exist solely to spread disinformation on behalf of the Uniparty and on globalism. That's the long and short of it. You're just afraid because you realize that you now have to compete once again, at least on one fucking mainline platform, with people more talented with much lower overhead than you. That's basically the shit piece of MSNBC, the New York Times rambling about this. They're going crazy. Keith Olbermann got banned. When he comes back, he'll probably try on purpose to get banned again, which is explicitly what he did. Knowing that the original count was suspended, he openly encouraged people to take screenshots of it and link to the other off-site accounts of that individual user in order to bypass Twitter's rules. You explicitly, willfully, and knowingly violated the TOS policy that was imposed on the original account, so you got banned. Now he throws a bitch fit. Now Mastodon apparently has been banned as well. As far as Mastodon, I wouldn't ban links to the platform on Twitter. I think that that's a negative thing that Elon Musk is doing. I don't think it's helpful. If anything, Elon Musk needs to start unbanning and unfiltering BitChute, Gateway Pundit, and things like that. If you're going to be total free speech, be total free speech. I oppose the move to block Mastodon. That being said, it is being shitposted constantly on Twitter spam style, so I can understand why it technically runs afoul of TOS. It's just a TOS that isn't really meaningful in that sense. Twitter is 1,000 times the size of Mastodon. It'll let the leftoids go to their safe space, their echo chamber. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they'll be making 9 tweets for every post on Mastodon. And when they post on Mastodon, it's going to be about how bad Twitter is. It's free publicity. I would warn Elon Musk they should immediately unban Mastodon. That one might just be for attention, to tell the truth. Let's see. Big Baby Zubas 2.0. America first, because if you ain't first, you're last. Yeah, in the world politics, that is technically how it works, to an extent. Libertarian Sasquatch, stick. Sure, they're normies, but you need those people to win elections. Yeah, but when he becomes nominee, it no longer matters. I mean, the legacy media is not going to be able to pretend that he doesn't exist if he's the GOP's candidate. Jared Pierce, equality feels like oppression to the privileged. Now, equality is usually equal misery, and it never involves the people at the top, you will notice, that are promoting the equality. They will eat filet mignon. You will all get equal rations. That's how they work. It's basically an extension of NIMBYism. Miguel Barrera, seems some are already using the perma-suspension of people like Olbermann as a gotcha towards Elon's Twitter, even though what they did was illegal. Now, no, it's not illegal, to be clear. It could be civilly actionable as a form of harassment. TOS on sites does not need to address that. Unless something is obviously and egregiously illegal, like someone's posting rape footage on Facebook or something, the tech sites shouldn't have anything to say about it. Remember, GoFundMe blocking Rittenhouse, for example, from raising money while openly promoting one of the people that he shot and his fundraiser, with the presumption, the de facto declaration that Rittenhouse is a murderer and the dude he shot was just an innocent bystander trying to save people, etc. Tech sites should not engage in such preferential behavior. There should be no tech affirmative action of any kind. I do oppose that from Musk. Malik Inc. Hi, Sticks, longtime follower from Canada. Could you tell me what you think the main reason why Yi is not suitable for office? Much respect, Clank. Because he's just not. There are no qualifications. If I'm going to see a person as eligible for office, I don't care about proving them to be disqualified. I want them to show why they would be qualified to me. Trump's done that. He's already been in office. He did a good job. Various other politicians have. Most of them fall short. About the only leg to stand on for many of them is that they have experience. Kanye doesn't even have that. It's a meme candidacy that's not even registered. F YouTube 10.2. Your thoughts on how the early 2020s went? They're all right. It's definitely meme-worthy material, but we are technically in another tech dark age. Sir Slam, I've converted some guys in my platoon to Clankdom. Oh, well, thank you very much. It's always a good decision. Next news story. I support this one. Dems push to decolonize Puerto Rico, give territory option of statehood or independence. This should have been done long ago, and the Republicans shouldn't bother to stand in the way. Yeah, I know. Oh, Puerto Rico will be an instant Dem state. I just don't give a damn. Puerto Ricans are already U.S. citizens. They can already move anywhere else in the U.S. they want. They already get a U.S. passport, et cetera, et cetera. They're already a territory. Everything's fully incepted, with a very small number of exceptions and without proportional representation. You have several million people who are U.S. citizens who effectively do not have a seat at the table. I don't care how they intend to vote. I would warn that the longer the Republicans block Puerto Rico from becoming a state, despite being the same size and population as Connecticut and having a huge amount of potentially developable shorefront property that could make a lot of people a shit ton of goddamn money, despite that fact, the GOP keeps holding off, alienating the people there. When they inevitably have to make the decision whether to become a state or a sovereign nation, and the territorial vote part of the vote should not even be there. It should be a simple yes or no, you want to be a state. We'll accept you if you vote yes. If not, you're on your own. By the way, you owe us about 100 billion fucking big ones. That's the ultimatum we should push with Puerto Rico. They get admitted as a state. Wonderful. Great boost, by the way, to the U.S. economy when all that development happens. Right now, you wouldn't, with the colonial question on the board, you don't want to develop the shorefront property in Puerto Rico. You don't know that you'll get a return. It could be nationalized by whatever sovereign government ends up cropping up if that happens. What's happened until now is they've repeatedly voted that they want to be a state, but they've never achieved the proper threshold because usually remaining a territory is on the ballot, and even when not, the anti-parties just don't go vote, so you never have high enough turnout. Well, it shouldn't be turnout based. Even if 30% of the population votes, the vote should be respected. If they want to go bye-bye, go bye-bye. Become a sovereign nation. U.S. washes its hands of you. By the way, again, you owe us a huge amount of money because your state is deep in the crapper economically, mainly because it's a territory, not a state. Otherwise, you're in with the full responsibilities and privileges of full U.S. citizens, which you are anyway, and welcome aboard. That's basically what we should be doing. I'd like to see Puerto Rico someday. Looks pretty cool. I don't understand why people have such a hate of the idea of admitting Puerto Rico to the United States. Is it because of partisan politics? Who gives a fucking goddamn shit about partisan politics? Captain Cannabis. Yeah, smoke weed, man. Ahoy, Sticks. Thanks for doing what you do and enjoy the cat food money. Shout out to Alex, who can never catch you live. Shout out to Alex. Professor Plaguebat. Someone put a pic of you through an anime filter, and I have to say I'd watch it. Lol. Yeah, I've seen that. I think V did that. Meme TV. I agree that Elon is well within his rights to protect himself on his own platform, but the bans flying around make me nervous. Some accountability would be cool. Shameless plug. Check out Meme TV. So you can look up Meme TV. Yeah, I would agree. He needs to be a bit more restrained. Overall, though, he's doing a good job on the platform. Long Dingus. Hey Sticks, recently moved from Los Angeles to Mississippi. Already purchased 3 firearms and I'm getting things set up for beekeeping in a garden in the spring. Clank on, improvement is possible. Nice. I think I'd skip the beekeeping though. I don't fear bees or anything, but I figured they'll come in from nature to pollinate the garden anyway, and I'm not a huge fan of honey. Huns with guns. Why would you want PR to be a state? Let them be their own country. I don't have a problem with that. If they want to cut themselves loose and be their own island nation like Jamaica or something, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But they're already a territory. The people there are already fucking U.S. citizens. A Puerto Rican moves to another state, establishes residency. They can already vote in that state. What the fucking hell is the difference? We've already annexed them. Eventually, you have to seal the deal. Oh shit, I'm sorry. Dick's Shagenhammer. Nicholas Pullen, Yedolf did nothing wrong. Yeah. Next news story, we'll talk about John Boehner briefly. He's no longer really relevant. He's too busy farming weed at this point, making money off of something that he used to want to be illegal. Rhino establishment Republican crying over Nancy Pelosi's new portrait. Yes, the other day they unveiled the hideous portrait of Nancy Pelosi. She's holding a hammer, which is clearly Paul Pelosi's. She forgot the sickle, though. Unfortunately, the cat definitely trying to end the stream early, climbing on my keyboard. I think I'm still live. Yeah, thank goodness. Kitty, if you could not do that, you're not a very good tech expert. You're better as the co-host. I need someone else to handle the technological shit, because clearly the cat and me can't handle it alone. And he breaks down in tears, John Boehner did, which he's done before. He's a crybaby born and bred. He's done this. He did this 5 or 6 times when he was actually in the House, where he just randomly starts crying emotionally over something. Like, he's got so much patriotism. I love the stars and stripes. Game recognizes game, he says about Nancy Pelosi. And I'm like, yes, thank you, Boehner. You're honest for once. You're displaying exactly the opinion of the Uniparty. At the end of the day, you can hurl insults across the aisle all you want, but really you're part of the same club that we aren't in, all of us. And you like and in some cases even love one another. You have coke orgies together, according to Madison Cawthorn, who the Uniparty threw under the bus for a reason. I wonder what that reason was. Yeah, there's no shenanigans there whatsoever. That's why he had all of his funding pulled. Second that he said that. Boehner is basically, he's a Mitch McConnell Republican. The Mitch McConnell-style Republicans get along with the liberals far more than they will with MAGA. And the liberals get along with them far more than they do with the so-called progressives, the socialist left. They're a bunch of corporate crooks. I'm so surprised that John Boehner teared up seeing the love of his life hung up there on the wall, minus her sickle. Kristen Robertson. I think Trump don't use any creators is because last time he joined some, the channel got banned. But maybe using Twitter now will help. Maybe he hopes TS will be bigger. That won't happen. I would use it if it was available outside the USA. Yeah, I'd probably be on Truth Social just because Trump's there, but I can't sign up for it because I'm in the Netherlands. I can, but I'm not going to sit there fiddling around with VPNs and shit just to use Truth Social. That's possible, but what I mean is more like he has a team of creators that he communicates with privately, and then they can put out the message all at the same time, and they can get that news out and make it go trending on places like Twitter and elsewhere without the legacy media being involved at all. Did that before, briefly with his press corps. Lauren Southern was briefly part of the White House press corps for a while. Brian Zwart, what do you think of weed legalization at the federal level? I'm still for states' rights because not everyone is into it. I think the drug war should end on the federal level, and I think that it's well within a person's privacy rights under the 4th to use whatever substances they want if it's on their own property, unless it's around kids or something like that. Michael Cricklow, we don't need more liberal politicians for Puerto Rico. Who's to say that they would all be liberals? There is a conservative undercurrent there that roughly mimics the Cuban community. James Flowers, late again, but my fault. Bullying children in VR. Not a banned account. Has Trump gone senile? NFTs. Really? No, that was part of his ploy to get around the wall of silence of the legacy media. It's just that he botched the approach. He probably should have other people advising him on how to get around the legacy media. There are multiple ways to do it, and the NFT line made him a lot of money, but at what cost is what I would ask. Deus Flex, if Republicans are that worried about Puerto Rico, they should balance it out by pushing for Guam to be admitted as well, since it flipped red during the midterms. Guam would also be possible for admission. Samoa and the U.S. Virgin Islands, population-wise, maybe a little bit less. Those are the other outstanding territories that we have. Dr. Haywood Floyd sent $2. No comment. Thank you. Primark 290. I live and am from Puerto Rico. We have lots of old people. We need the help for our elders. Vote state. I love Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, mi isla. Yeah, I don't understand. I never had a problem with Puerto Ricans. Dr. Haywood Floyd. Fuentes was banned from Rumble for making a video asking if there were groypers on the platform per the Rumble CEO on Timcast IRL. Asking if there were groypers on the platform. Interesting. You'll have to get that video clipped to me or something. I can't imagine that they actually banned him for asking such a question. Lord of the Ree on Rumble. I saw a very pretty kitty. Shut up and take my money. Yeah, she's literally staring at herself up here because she can see the webcam feed. Evan Valenta, discussing cremation and burial yesterday, got me thinking. If I had my way, I'd like to have most of my body mulched and into a tree instead of a headstone, but I want my skull bronzed and memento mori carved on the forehead. I've thought of that, like leaving my skull to posterity, like to future generations of Warwicks, and having the rest, yeah, having it planted would be pretty cool. You can actually have your body decomposed into fertilizer and planted with a tree now. Regular old tombstone will do me fine, though. They can take my hands and throw them in the garden, and the plants will eat them. E100 Omega 123, get a bonus from work. Feds took $225 of it. Taxation is theft. Stop wasting my money, Mitch. Yeah, and they used it to kill Yemeni children. And Bernie Sanders does not care, by the way. Next news story. Opinion. The city's lost cause statues are all gone. So what now? Yes, the last Confederate statue in Richmond, Virginia, once the capital of the Confederacy, is now gone. I would like to answer the question because we've definitely seen the direction in which we're moving historically, which is that with the Confederate statues gone, they'll identify something else that's problematic. Maybe it's George Washington. They've removed some of his shit. They've removed Jefferson statues. They've removed Teddy Roosevelt statues, like from the Museum of Natural History, I think it is, in New York City. They're going to remove all of the problematic old statues and put them in the back room or a nice private space or something like that. They don't want the public to know that a white male ever did anything good. And the Confederate statues, and this was something that I brought up and others brought up when they made their thing at Charlottesville, etc. It's not really so much about the Confederate statues, it's about history in general. Once you start removing historical artifacts instead of putting new ones up, it tends to build up as a movement. We've seen this in antiquity, the disappearing of history. We saw this under Stalinism. Hell, there's an inverse happening now where they remove like the commie statues. I say leave them up and just legalize people throwing tomatoes at them or something like that. Allow people to vandalize Karl Marx's tomb, but keep Karl Marx's tomb there as a reminder to his decadence and his perversions. Meme TV, the cat is reading the super chats. This one is for her. Meow, meow, meow. Have a great day, Sticks. Yeah, maybe she'll meow at some point. Kristen Robertson, funny how everyone forgot the Ukraine regime killed 2 Polish civilians and Zelensky still has not apologized. This really shows who are the good and the bad guys in the war. No, they're all bad guys. It's a problem. There's no such thing as a good guy in war, generally speaking. People tend to get fucked up by war psychologically. In the case of the leadership, Zelensky's corrupt. Putin is corrupt. Putin did begin the war of aggression, to be clear. Although I know some people say, no, because Ukraine wanted to join NATO and it was against an agreement, as though a sovereign nation has some compelling reason to perpetually decapitate itself. But that doesn't mean that Zelensky is good. But Zelensky being bad doesn't mean Putin's good either. Generalissimo Liberty. The wife and I were in Vermont in October to visit friends, and we loved Linden. I am conservative, and I did not melt or combust. Why did you move? Well, I got married to a Dutch woman, so I'm here in the Netherlands at the moment. I'll be splitting my time, but it's difficult. Just had a child, and before that there was fucking lockdownerism and shit, so it's been a while. Musings of a Witch's Path. Gender-affirming surgeries and blockers for minors is this generation's Tuskegee experiment. No one can tell me otherwise. Yeah, ban male genital mutilation. Ban infant circumcision for males as well. Jesse JFR. How did everyone get fooled into backing mainstream media? It used to be punk rock to be a free thinker. Now musicians shame their defiant fans. Only the elderly ones. Ozzy's Robots. It was appalling when the Taliban removed statues. Yeah, exactly. It's the disappearing of history in order to revise it. Now, that's the whole point. I'm surprised they don't put the Confederate statues back up and remove the statues of like George Washington and Lincoln and shit like that, so they can paint a one-sided view of white people as a bunch of evil slave owners. Generalissimo Liberty, thank you. Next news story. It's no great surprise that the European Parliament is engulfed in a corruption scandal. Yes, you've got some problems with their MEPs taking money from Qatar, and then, of course, totally not voting in favor of Qatari foreign policy. Remember that this is the same parliament now optioning the concept of sanctions on Twitter for banning people for violating TOS that are years old. I'm just putting that out there as a brief note here. I don't even care about the story in general. The most prominent of those arrested is Greek MEP Eva Kaili, who at the time of her arrest was one of 14 vice presidents of the parliament, a role which she has been stripped. Both Qatar and Kaili have denied any wrongdoing. Well, you had half a dozen MEPs raided at the same time, and there was probably a reason for that, just saying. I find it very funny that the European Union wants to exercise control over other countries' business so constantly. It's a very European facet of diplomacy dating back a very long time. Look at the colonial period. Oh, we've got to meddle in those U.S. affairs again. Have you ever studied the role of the British and the French in the U.S. Civil War and some of the intrigue that went on there? Look up the Trent Affair if you don't believe me. Sheena Ray, Pretty Kitty, is stealing the show. Yeah, she's the quiet one, of course. It's like Robin Quivers, only minus the crazy laugh. Next news story. The Indiana law that lets citizens shoot cops. Oh boy, isn't that an unbiased title, by the way? It's not fear porn or anything like that. Indiana has passed a law that if a public servant, so cop or whatever, off duty, on duty, is illegally attempting to enter your home or vehicle, you can defend yourself under their castle doctrine statute. That was the one exception before. Here's the thing. You have a castle doctrine state, okay. You are permitted to shoot people if they're trying to break into your home. Indiana is one of those states. There are many of them. The problem is, what if the cops mistake your premises for the neighbor's premises? They think that you've got a pile of marijuana bales in your living room and break into your home. You don't have any reason to believe you're going to be raided by the cops because you've literally done nothing wrong. You've done nothing. You know that you've done nothing that would justify a raid. Let's say you live alone, so there's no possibility of, the weird uncle or something having done something wrong either. You live alone, you live a completely lawful life, you're aware of the fact that you do, and all of a sudden somebody's trying to break through your door. Your first inclination is probably not, shit, it might be the cops, I'd better put my hands up. Your first inclination is probably somebody's trying to break in to kill me, or rob me, or rape me, or all three, and so I'm going to fire upon them. Well, you don't know that it's the cops. You had no clue. They're not supposed to be at your address. They're supposed to be raiding the next door neighbors. What this does is it allows people to actually defend themselves. A person's home is their castle. Castle doctrine should be recognized nationwide along with stand your ground. And yes, there's the other problem where somebody might impersonate an officer of the law. Well, they're breaking the law. They're trying to break and enter for some malevolent purpose, and they're impersonating a law officer in the process, but they look the part. They've got the badge and the flashlights and stuff. How the fuck are you supposed to know that it's not just a clever burglar who bought a vintage suit off of eBay from the 1990s or something like that? I don't know. He looks like a real sheriff. Shit, I'd better just put my thumb up my ass and open the front door and let them in. It becomes a real big problem. It effectively defangs the concept of even being able to defend yourself in the most sanctified of manners, which is on your own property, your home, or your vehicle. Well, it's a no-brainer. Somebody's coming on, prowling on your property. It shouldn't matter who they are. They should get the fuck out. Ozzy's Robots. How delicious is Dutch cocoa, or is it overrated? I don't eat sweets, so I wouldn't know, actually. Never eat sweets. That's why I still have all of my teeth except for the baby tooth that I accidentally cracked apart because I bit down on what I thought was a pitless olive, and that one particular pit decided it didn't want to be removed during the machining process. Zedekiah Clankforth. Kristen Robertson. I just wonder, what is your electricity price at the moment? Here in Norway, it's over $5 per kilowatt. And Norway doesn't do anything to help its people, just more taxes. Socialism at its finest. I don't know, honestly. Liz, because I don't speak Dutch generally, Liz does the bills. I do the money making. She does the money distributing. Sparky, as silly as it is, since people think 50 is a nice round number, is the main reason no more states have been added in over half a century. Well, the other reason is that other than Puerto Rico, the rest would be very, very small states. Smaller than Rhode Island and much smaller than Wyoming in population. Puerto Rico is the size of Connecticut, population and land area-wise, and it has a huge ocean frontage just waiting to be exploited. But it's underdeveloped. There are hundreds of billions to be made, probably, in developing Puerto Rico's shorelines. Daru and Albane, I'm loving the Yellow Journalist ban. I'm also loving your cat's OnlyFans. Yeah, she shows her ass on camera to more people than most of the OnlyFans people. Yeah. No Parking sent $9.99. No comment. Thank you. Next news story and the final one. So Indiana's expanded castle doctrine, and people are claiming that it allows you to shoot cops. Well, no, it allows you to shoot people breaking and entering on your property. There are situations in which the cop shouldn't be there, or it's not actually a cop at all. What are you supposed to do? You hear a pounding on the door. You're not supposed to arm yourself because of the vague possibility it might be law enforcement. What if it's the drunken sheriff who just has a stick up his ass about you because you did something you didn't like? You have the wrong color of car. You're the wrong skin color. Imagine that this law ends up applying. There's a black man sitting there minding his own business, and the drunken sheriff who hates the black folks tries to break down his door on false charges to try to plant crack in his home, and he blows him away with a shotgun. Well, he's fine now. Before this, though, he'd be facing felony charges. I support the Indiana law. The landlord harassment channel. States should give the electoral college system. Yeah, they should probably have an electoral system. And now the final news story, also gun-related. CDC removed stats on defensive gun use over pressure from gun control activists, according to a report. And you'll never guess their excuse for this. The CDC, the stats sourced from a CDC commission study, so the CDC itself commissioned it, finding that instances of defensive gun use occur between 60,000 and 2.5 million times per year. That's in the United States. References to that study were deleted from the site following private meetings with gun control advocates in 2021, emails obtained and published by The Reload Show. That 2.5 million number needs to be killed, buried, dug up, killed again, and buried again. Mark Bryan, executive director of the Gun Violence Archive, wrote to the CDC in one of the emails. It is highly misleading, is used out of context, and I honestly believe it has zero value, even as an outlier point in honest DGU discussions. See, they're not complaining that the numbers are wrong. It's a CDC commission study. You're looking at cases where in some examples, a person simply happens to be armed. The person attempting to victimize them realizes that and therefore leaves off attempting to victimize them. So, you've got a mugger in the alleyway and he sees a couple coming. He's like, hey, give me your money. And the dude starts moving his coat aside and the mugger sees the 38 there and the mugger's not armed with a firearm, or maybe he is, but isn't a quick draw or a good shot, and runs the other fucking way and cuts their losses. That's a defensive use of a gun. It was never fired. Nobody got injured. Nobody got killed. What happened is that a mugging was avoided. That happens tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of times every year in the United States, and that number might be underestimated. The fact is, look, let's say you got burglars casing a joint, and then they realize that the dude that owns it, they've been casing the joint for a couple days. The dude arrives, and all of a sudden they see he's got a package that says sawn off shotgun on it or something, and they see that he's a 300-pound tattoo redneck with a MAGA hat, and he's got a cartload of fucking guns and ammunition, and he's chuckling to himself and whistling the Confederate anthem while he goes in his garage door. They probably don't burglarize the property. They may want the guns because those are valuable on the black market, but they generally don't want to get shot. The fact is also, and this is bullshit, they claim that it's been debunked even though literally the number was CDC sponsored, which is the funny part. The fact is that defensive gun usage is much more common than offensive gun usage in the United States. The majority of deployments of firearms for any purpose don't even involve injury. Most of those cases that are defensive are you flashed a gun and the person left you alone. You threatened to shoot the person in self-defense, something like that, and then there's a police report made. Doesn't even involve someone being shot, let alone lethally. The fact is that most gun deaths in the United States that aren't suicides, a lot of them are accidental. If you eliminate those, the rest are mostly gang-related. But this paints a picture the CDC doesn't want people to know. It doesn't want people to know the truth. This is effectively Stalinizing the data because the data does not agree with your premise. Their premise is guns bad, usually used for evil intent. The fact is that 9 times out of 10, that's not actually the case. Mike Bliss, please no more super chats, by the way. Keeping it short again today, going into the weekend. It's cozy out. I actually made homemade apple cider earlier. It's pretty damn good. A little sweet for me, though. Mike Bliss, Sticks, Merry Christmas from Vermont. Can you shout out to my lovely wife, the Candle Queen? She does sweet videos over on Rumble. Clank on, good sir. Okay, so the Candle Queen over on Rumble. For all of you on Rumble, you're already there. Go and take a look. Sparky, watch the Duran for a good handle on geopolitics. You seem to depend on the MSM Five Eyes narrative. False. No, the Five Eyes narrative of Putin man bad is not entirely correct. The counter narrative of Zelensky man bad, therefore Putin savior of Europe or something like that is equally fucking retarded. Wade Mukunda, Crowder's leaving the Blaze. Glenn Beck is a shill. Oh, that's probably a good move. Yeah, the Blaze has been shit for years. I was never taken in by Glenn Beck. You will note, by the way, everyone, when he had his Black Robe Regiment meltdown back in 2011 or something like that, who was one of the people laughing the fucking hardest about that? I think the video might still even be up. I'll have to look that up later and put it on Twitter if I can find it. Testing 2741, I never shot at or pointed at anyone, but twice stopped an attack by simply flashing the piece. Yeah, most people don't want to fuck with you if you're armed. It's as simple as that. The CDC doesn't want people to know that, though, because then they'll push for more open carry. An open carry society is a polite society. Nobody wants to fuck around with the person who has the 45, or even the 22 for that matter. You think that these people are such gun experts, they can tell the difference instantly between two different calibers of revolver? They look at my Glock 42. They can't tell the difference between that and a Glock 17. Honestly, other than the fact that it's smaller, there's no significant difference between the two. So, yeah. Guns are pretty cool. By the way, there's 4,000 people watching on Rumble. That's actually more than are watching on YouTube right now. This no longer fucking surprises me. YouTube algorithmically throttles me and Rumble favors me because I make good content. It's interesting to people and deserves to be heard. By the way, carrying a 22, there's nothing wrong with that. Might want to get something chambered in 22 Hornet, though, honestly. Don't try to put those in a normal 22 or it'll blow up. Just saying. Disclaimer, that's not a good idea. Can't wait to buy more guns when I get back to the United States. You can get guns here, but they're all air-powered, although some of them will kill a deer, just to be clear. Some of the very high-powered air rifles here, they are expertly made, especially the German imports, I think. They used to have a ban on pneumatic weapons in the Netherlands that went beyond a certain, I think muzzle velocity, I think they measured it by. They eliminated that because it was impossible for them to calibrate the weapons properly to make sure that no one was violating the law. So they just said, fuck it. So there's actually a lot of people, apparently they get those, and I think they go over to Germany to go hunt and shit like that. Everything from basically like a little BB pistol, there's spring-loaded weapons, all the way up to something that will kill a deer. So they're pretty nuts. I never knew that you could actually get that much force behind an air weapon. I figured that it sort of maxed out at a significantly lower level than that. Apparently, I was wrong. Yeah, Dictionary, 300 Blackout. Yeah, well, Honey Badger sounds pretty cool. That's in 300 Blackout. Although I think people complain that it's overpriced for what it is. 5.7's fine, you know. I really want to get a pistol in 5.7, but a tactical pistol with the magazine located in front of the trigger so that it looks cooler mainly. And, of course, has a longer barrel for a little bit greater velocity. I love my 22 back at home, revolver. My grandfather gave it to me. Therefore, I will never sell it. The Southern V. Hello, Sticks. Hope you have a great holiday and Jesus loves everyone, you and your family. Well, I may not be a Christian, but I appreciate the thought. And Sparky, in 85, a robber pulled a 45 on Dad in 85. Dad drew his 38 special and put 5 rounds in him. Press treated Dad as a hero. Don't know about now. Yeah, it depends on the race of the person who tried to rob him. If it was presumably another person of his race, it's not a problem. Meisner Flux, to be logically consistent, they should tear down the Roman Colosseum, every statue and every benefit bestowed to our modern government. The Roman-owned slaves. Logic makes the brain hurt. Yeah, there's plenty of modern-day slavery. Yeah, just look at Haiti or Libya. Mainly places where the Clintons have been involved. A lot of slavery in China, too. Sparky, sorry about the extra 85. Yeah. Now, not buying any Tauruses. I am the Resistance 2020. I'm a Glock man, generally. Anyway, I'm going to go offline here, although I do appreciate everyone that tuned in. Over 4,000 people at Peak on Rumble, way higher than on YouTube. So I guess at some point I might just fucking make Rumble exclusives or branch out to other new tech sites because YouTube keeps throttling the fucking content. People complain they don't see all the videos on the uploads. Live streams randomly disappear. I think they've moved playlist into the content section for some reason now. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. I have a sneaking suspicion, though, that they're expediting more censorship on the site to compensate for the fact that so many people now are growing their audiences on Twitter. So people that are still on YouTube, but they're algorithmically demoted like me, but we're no longer demoted on Twitter, they have to demote us extra hard in order to keep us in our place. In the run up to 24 especially, I think we'll see more of that to come from other big tech sites. I think they'll become more censored in response to Twitter, which will hasten their demise much more than it will Twitter's, by the way. That's about all. Peace out.